So yeah, in this time, there's just been a lot of confusion about what we should do next. Like I've seen so much, so many opposing game plans or action plans or whatever you want to call it. Like some people are saying that we should just like completely delete, uninstall the game, stop playing, stop spending money, and unfollow all the socials. Just do a complete boycott of the game, so that info will have no choice but to hear us out, to see that this character was important to us. Other people have been like, no, it's okay to like log in and stuff like that, but like just don't spend any money. And then other people are saying that people should continue to log in and spend money as much as they can, now more than ever, in order to show info that the international market matters, because there's like rumors going around that they might be doing what the MiHoYo company did. So they're the ones who have Genshin Impact and a couple of other games. Apparently, they ran into similar problems and they just decided to, move their company out of China and base it in Singapore so that they wouldn't be bound by the, strict Chinese laws and stuff like that. So there's some people who are speculating that maybe Infold or Paper Games is trying to do something similar, and that in order to show our support as international fans, we should log in more and spend more money. But I'm not sure, because like there's people who are saying that that is just propaganda that is being spread by the Chinese fans. Like they want the international fans to keep logging in, keep spending money, so that Infold doesn't think that this is a big deal for international fans. So I've been really confused about what to do. So far, like I mentioned in my other video, that I had already deleted and uninstalled everything. So I'm still staying with that option. I feel like I would need to see more evidence that it would be beneficial for me to install and keep on logging in and stuff like that first before I make that decision. So yeah, I guess in this video I'll just be talking about the valid versus the invalid reasons that fans have brought up, the demands and concerns and issues that have been made, as well as just a lot of the discourse that's been going on online and what you can do about it. I feel like what's really, 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 really important in this fight to bring back a Valko is our action plan. We need to be on the same page about that. And I just want to encourage everyone to say that I don't think all hope is lost. I feel like there is a real chance that they could bring Valko back. So I made this list of like the valid versus the invalid reasons, issues, and demands that have been brought up by different sides of the fan base, both Chinese and international. And I feel like, okay, the valid ones, some of them I already mentioned them yesterday. The ones concerning the culturally sensitive material that has been in the game. Like I said yesterday, that seems very, very valid. The whole experiment 731, and I heard that there's more, like there's references to several high-profile criminal cases, and there's one where this man, he did some horrible things to his wife and ended up putting her in a pot. So that was a really, really terrible case that happened. And another one where, there was a stalking case and stuff like that. And, I'm very understanding of that. I respect that, honestly. I think it's one thing for a story to include elements of, shadiness and darkness, and a completely different story when it draws upon real cases, that have affected real life people. I think that those are two completely different things, and I don't think that anyone is unreasonable for feeling upset with that. I just think that, like the company really does need to come out and make statements about that. They need to retract that and, really fix that. But again, canceling Valko's character doesn't fix any of the culturally insensitive material that was brought up. I just feel like actually, by saying that canceling Valko's character does make up for the culturally insensitive material that happened before, I feel like that's just like letting Infold get away with it easily, you know? Like, because they haven't made any statements as far as I'm concerned, like actually discussing this and really taking accountability and responsibility for their actions. Like, they haven't done that so far, and I just feel like if they can so callously do this to their own culture, like within their own country, like clearly no one else's culture is safe. So I feel like it's reasonable to be upset about that, and to want to hold them accountable for that, both for the Chinese culturally sensitive material, but just like for the whole world, you know. I just feel like that's something that is important. But like consequently, on the invalid side, I feel like it's completely invalid to say that the reason why you're objecting to Valko's character is for women's rights. Like, several people have already brought this up and have said it much better than me, but it's like all of the characters are shady towards MC. And when you look at MC herself, she's not a perfect character. Like, she has done plenty of shady things herself. So I just feel like acting sanctimonious and suddenly moral when this game has been like this, like, I just think that's wild, you know, and uncalled for. Like, why are you concerned about it now when all this time we have been knowing that all of the characters have done shady things? You know, they have brought up how Xavier knew MC when she was a little girl, how Silas hacks city cameras and sends Mephisto to spy on MC at any time that he wants without her consent. And then there's Caleb dragging MC and preventing her from meeting up with Zane. There's Zane, who became her doctor, knowing that she had a heart condition, and even while knowing that he's her doctor, he has inappropriate doctor-patient relationships with her. And then there's Raphael. You know, there was a part where Raphael was literally about to leave MC to drown, and there's all the shady stuff that he has done too. So none of these characters are perfect. Like, I would be so understanding. I would be so understanding if, like, Valko was like this awful character. You know, he's connected to Ever, which has done all of these horrible things, and all the other 5 characters were complete 100% green flags. Like, that would be so understandable. But that is not the case. Like, they are not complete 100% green flags. They're all red flags, and it's just crazy because it's like this whole time you have been here for that, but now all of a sudden you don't want to with Valko. Like, what's different? And it's crazy because this character wasn't even properly unveiled to the public yet. Like, how do you know that this is what his character was like when you never even gave him a chance? Okay, back to a more valid argument. There have been many people pointing out the rushed promotions, how they just like released the Valko in just such a hurried manner, and I feel like in a way, okay, they have points. I mean, like I said yesterday, I disagree with how they said that there was no build-up whatsoever. There was no warning, no foreshadowing whatsoever that there would be a 6th love interest. I disagree with that. Like, there was plenty of foreshadowing and warning that there would be 6 love interests, okay? But I do feel like, you know, the way that they did it, I don't know, it was a bit quick, and it just didn't feel right because there were all these concerns already that so many people, both within the Chinese fan base and the international fan base, had pointed out and were hoping to see get resolved. And then it's just like, I can understand feeling upset with wanting your issues properly dealt with, and then seeing the company come up with a whole complete new character, when it's like, okay, you were trying to give the company the benefit of the doubt and be like, maybe in their own time and place they will deal with these issues that I've brought up. But then you see them coming up with a new character and you're like, okay, so they have had time and they have had resources, clearly, because they're coming out with a completely new character, and that must have taken a lot of time and resources. So it's like, if they have had this time and the resources, why haven't they been addressing the issues that we have been bringing up? And like, concerning the issues that have been brought up, like, a lot of people have been upset about how it's so difficult to find and farm gems and just like resources within the game. And that is so true. Like I said, I've been free to play and I have been feeling the constraints. Like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to move into starting to like spend money on the game. But I don't think that it should be this hard, you know. It shouldn't be this hard and this difficult to, you know, just play freely and get what you want. Like I'm not saying that they shouldn't try to incentivize people to want to spend money, you know. Like at the end of the day, they're still a business, they're still trying to, you know, run things within a capitalistic society. So that's perfectly understandable, but it's like the extent to which it's so difficult to progress forward within the game, it's just completely uncalled for, and they could have found a way to deal with that. And I just feel like they didn't. They completely overlooked those concerns. And other concerns that have been brought up have been like how the love interests don't seem to be having like equal amount of what's this, like material, you know. Like they've been paying disproportionate amount of attention to each of the love interests. Like they've just been looking at which love interests are popular and focusing mostly on those love interests and neglecting the ones who are not as popular, when it's like there's still so many people who really like those other characters. Okay, sorry, I had to move from the other location. Okay, so as I was saying, like people have been bringing up a lot of really valid reasons and just concerns that they had that they wish that Infold would deal with. And another one of those concerns has been the way that Infold has been slow to updating main storyline material, and yet they've been promoting with just a lot of banners and banners and banners and reruns and reruns and reruns. And they have been exploring so many alternate universes, yet they've just been completely neglecting the main storyline that people have been so interested in. And it's like there's just this oversaturation of other kinds of content, and it's just starting to feel like they're losing their direction and things like that. You know, that's how people have been feeling about the direction that things have been going in lately. And then there's concerns about like the customization of MC, the lighting of MC for like darker skinned characters. You know, like me, I've also completely experienced that as well, like in different lightings. The MC, my MC who has darker skin tone, like she just doesn't look very nice, and that's not a really nice thing to experience, especially when you're seeing that other people who have lighter skinned MCs, they seem to be playing a lot better and their MC looks a lot better standing next to the love interest, like when you're in the photo booth and things like that. And then you also want to be out there taking nice cute photos with your MC and with the love interest, but it's like the lighting just looks really harsh and just terrible on her skin. And that's just like not fair, because why would you offer the opportunity like for a global audience to play this character and offer the customization for a darker skinned MC and then just make the lighting so crap? You know, like it's really not fair, especially when they clearly must have the resources to do better. Like this is a really cutting edge technology game. They can definitely do better in regards to that. So yeah, there've just been all of these concerns that have been brought up, and I can totally understand feeling upset with how they've chosen to spend a lot of time and money and resources into bringing in a completely new character, when all of these other issues that could have been probably much more easily dealt with could have first been dealt with before bringing in this new character. Now, on the opposite hand, you know, like I said, I feel like a lot of the concerns that have been brought up and feeling ignored for those concerns are so valid. I also do feel like it's unfair to refer to to Valko as only a cash grab character. You know, like I've seen several people reference him as such. They're saying that the reason why Infold wanted to rush his promotions and release him so quickly and ignore all of these other concerns was because they were afraid of like competitors entering the market, you know, with Silent Whisper preparing to debut their game. They just really wanted to rush and be first with this new character Valko, in order like to hopefully get players interested and engaged, and they're, just to put them in a more safe and stable space as they as they prepare to have an actual competitor now. So, a lot of players and people online have been saying that it's so clear that Valko was only a cash grab, and that he was only a product, and he was never like a real character. I just feel like that's also uncalled for, because, like I said, it has been foreshadowed that there would be a sixth love interest. Like, the story was made for there to be a sixth love interest. So, like, for years, many people have been speculating that and really looking forward to there being a sixth love interest. And it's clear from how the developers of Valko have been speaking about him, how, I heard that, the developers said that it was so sad because they watched this character be born, and now it's like they have to watch him die. And I mentioned in my other video how they had this affectionate nickname for him. Like, I don't see him as being just another product when he clearly had so many people caring about him and putting in so much thought and intentionality and care and heart and soul and emotion, just pouring all of that time and effort into this character. I don't think he was just a cash grab. I feel like he was truly meant to be a part of the story. He was truly meaningful to many of the artists, the writers, the people who worked so hard, the voice actor for Valko. Like, he meant a lot to people, and he was someone who could have meant so much to the broader fan base. Many people were so ready to care for this character, to spend money on him, to interact with him. They were really looking forward to, meeting him. They were in just so much anticipation for this character. So I feel like it's unfair and uncalled for to be like, oh, he was only just a product. That just seems like you're completely minimizing all of the hard work and effort and the heart that has been poured into this character. I just feel like this whole situation, the reason why it feels just so dirty and uncomfortable for a lot of people is because it just really feels like a loss on so many sides. It feels like a loss for the people who have worked so hard at the paper games and info companies, the artists, the writers, the creators, the hard workers, the voice actors. It feels like such a loss for the players who were looking forward to him. And it feels like a loss to the players maybe who weren't looking forward to him, but who still wanted to interact well with the game, to just suddenly be bombarded with all of these things that are happening. And of course, like yesterday, I mentioned how there's even the possibility of the game completely being taken away, but many people are saying that's probably not going to happen. But I think it still remains a possibility. I don't think it's completely off the table. And like how I mentioned that even if the game isn't completely taken away, well, it's going to be forever altered without Valko, and it just sets a precedent for future developments. If Valko is removed, what else could happen? Who else could get removed? If all it takes is a few players throwing a tantrum and using bully tactics in order to get their way, what else can happen? Like, I just feel like this is further empowering that small, shady minority within the fan base. And I feel like it's not only just setting a dangerous precedent for Love and Deepspace itself, but it endangers all other future otome games. And yeah, I just feel like it's setting a dangerous precedent within the entire industry if this continues on like this. Like, I feel like this isn't a small deal. Like, this is a really big deal when you think about it like that. I mean, like, when I look at the smaller minority of these Chinese fans and the things that they did, the threats that they made, I heard they even sent like cow dung to Info's company, and they sent funeral wreaths, and they were just like completely bullying the other Chinese fans who were in support of Valko, shutting them down on social media platforms, completely flooding all these social media platforms with misinformation and things like that. And just seeing that the uncomfortable, insensitive, dirty things that they were saying about the company, about other players and stuff like that. I mean, I even saw a comment that was like, why, like comments about how Valko was too tan and too Western or gay or things like that. It was just like what does that even mean? Like, first of all, please just take a look at Valko. This man is as pale can be. Okay, like how show us where this tan is, okay? Somebody call Interpol, get them involved, report Valko's missing tan to them, and maybe they can help us find this man's missing tan because I am not seeing his tan, okay? And to say, like, I even saw a comment that was saying that, oh, they can just like appeal themselves to the African market if they want. Like, what do we care? You know, they'll just lose out on our support. And then others were like, yeah, I support you. I'm not gonna support them if they're pandering to Africa. And I'm like, like what? That was so ridiculous and uncalled for because I am from Africa. And listen, everybody knows that when people talk about a global market, somehow Africa is never in it. Like, whenever it comes to singers or movies or whatever, and they're talking about like going on tour or pushing products to the global market, they're not thinking about Africa. I even mentioned this in my previous video, about how global Infold went when it reached me in Africa, because like we're not the first people that are in other people's or companies' minds when it comes to appealing themselves to a much more global audience. Like, come on, be so for real. Like, people only think about Africa when it comes to suddenly feeling like they need to develop a heart and donate to charity. They need to save all of those poor people in Africa. And as someone who has been in Africa my whole life, who has lived most of my life in my country in Africa, like it is disheartening to watch like the Western world have this kind of view on Africa. And as someone who has been into K-dramas for a long time, it has just been so heartening to see that view also start to appear in K-dramas. How they're going to Africa to start doing charity work, and they're showing this very one-sided part of Africa, always showing poverty and things like that. And so when I think about that, when I think about how the global world tends to view Africa, and I'm seeing these dirty remarks about how Valko is too tan because they're trying to appeal themselves to Africa. Like, come on, like, be so for real. Don't be so insensitive like that. You know that they were not in their board meeting talking about like how yes, Africa, that's the one. That's what we should be doing. Like, it just made the whole comment so much more icky. But it's like, okay, I understand that this is not the majority of the Chinese girlies. Like, I really, really want to stress that I am not for the division. I am not for resorting to underhanded, dirty, racist, xenophobic comments on either side. Okay, I think that we should unite based on all the valid reasons that we have, and to tell them that we had these valid reasons, but canceling Valko in order to deal with the backlash that you are receiving, it is not the way to deal with this. Like, you could have done so many other things besides canceling the whole character. Like, they could have just, postponed him and made official statements and apologies where they needed to be made, acknowledging what needed to be acknowledged, and then they should have gone and fixed what needed to be fixed, and they should have spent a considerable amount of time repairing the rift between the company and the players, because there was a very real rift. They should have rebuilt that trust first and said that, okay, we will work right now on repairing the bond between the company and the players, regaining your trust. And then once that has been done, once we have addressed the concerns, the major concerns, the valid concerns that have been brought up by the valid and sane part of the fandom, the fan base, once that has all been done, we will then bring Valko back. Like, that's really all that they needed to do. That's all that they needed to do. I don't understand why they're being so dramatic and so extreme by completely canceling this character. I just feel like who were they even listening to? Like, it just seems like they were pandering themselves and bending over backwards for this small minority who were completely just like bullying them and ignoring the vast majority who were completely sane and objective in the reasons and the concerns that they brought up, you know? And that just doesn't feel like a win for me. It really doesn't feel like a win, and that's why I'm here trying my hardest to fight. Okay, so speaking about fighting for Valko, like I mentioned earlier, it just seems that there's been a lot of confusion about what it is that we ought to be doing. There have been people who are saying that we need to stop logging in and playing the game, that we need to completely uninstall, and other people are saying that no, we need to log in more and really just like keep on playing to show our support, because they might be moving the base of operations to another country. But like I said earlier, I don't know anything. I don't have evidence to substantiate the claim that they might be moving the company. So I'm just going to go with the safe decision, and that is with boycotting, because boycotting seems to have worked with the Chinese fan base. So it's like if the international fan base also goes with that route, maybe we stand a chance to be heard. But I can totally understand if like you're not for a complete boycott, you want to partially boycott, and by that I mean like maybe you want to keep on logging in but you don't want to spend money. That's okay. There's other things that you can do. So for a plan of action, I wrote out plan of action over here. Okay, let me read it out. So you can choose to delete / uninstall the game. Maybe you might want to leave a 1-star review on any app store that you are using, if that's the iOS one or Google, the Apple Play Store or Google Play Store. Just go there, leave a 1-star review, and make sure that you explain why. Like, you need to type out why. Like, I'm leaving this 1-star review because I'm upset with the decision to completely cancel Valko, and just like the decision to completely cancel any kind of like future love interest. Like, it just feels like completely stopping the development of the entire game as a whole, honestly. So yeah, leave a 1-star review explaining why. Send an email to them. I sent an email to them earlier, and make sure that it's respectful. You know, a nice email. Make sure that it's respectful and detailed. Really make sure that you get into why exactly you feel concerned with canceling Valko. Bring up your concerns. Make sure that it's not vague. Make sure that it's direct. It communicates everything that needs to be communicated. I believe there's several people who are sharing like templates for what it is that you can say. So yeah, just feel free to look that up if you need something like that, and send an email. I will put up on the screen what their email address is in case you need it. And if you want to, you can sign these petitions. There's several petitions that are going around. I think I've signed a few. I think there's like either 2 or 3. Some of them do require you to donate money, so you can do that. Although I do think there's some where it's like instead of donating money, you can just choose to share the link. So definitely look into that. I think that that's something that is important that you can do. And then yeah, you can trend and comment all the different hashtags that have been used. Hashtag bring back Valko, hashtag bring Valko back, hashtag Valko, hashtag save Valko, hashtag we want Valko, hashtag justice for Valko. Any of those hashtags will be fine, just to bring a lot of attention to what is happening and to just make it clear that you're not going to let this die out easily, you know? And unfollow and unsubscribe from any of their socials if you want to. If you have access to Rednote or Xiaohongshu, you can start commenting and using those hashtags that I mentioned earlier. I have heard that there have been people who are doing that. I'm thinking of looking into doing the same thing myself, as it is a Chinese social media platform. And then yeah, if you're a content creator, definitely post about it, you know. I just feel like we should be doing whatever we can, because I am not willing to accept that all hope is lost. You know, like there have been rumors going around that the company is going to go on a 2-month hiatus, and that after they come back from that hiatus, it's going to be all 6 of the love interests. And I don't know how much gravity that rumor has. I don't know where exactly it came from, but I'm really hoping that it's true. I really am. I really hope that they take our advice to just postpone and delay Valko, but not completely cancel him. I don't think that's something that is necessary that they need to do. Okay, yeah, that's everything that I have so far. I really hope the advice that I've given you is helpful. I hope that you take the advice that I've given you. I think that we do stand a chance. There is hope. There is a fighting chance, honestly. The amount of global outrage and just backlash that this has garnered, I feel like it is worth something. I really hope that it is, and crossing my fingers that they bring this character back, guys. Honestly, because without this character, I mean it. I'm done with this game. Like, and it wouldn't just be because of Valko. It would be because of all the other reasons that were ignored. It would be because Infold would be a company that's really bad at dealing with issues and listening to valid, sane, rational arguments, and instead just chooses to side with people who are using such bully tactics, you know? I just couldn't continue to move forward with a company like that, you know? I just wouldn't feel comfortable with doing that. But yeah, you know, I've said my piece. Uh, hoping that it works out, guys.